Hello there, Mandy here. Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart is not just a podcast. It's also a book, a free online grief group, and a one-on-one private coaching practice. If you are interested in learning more, visit mandykapehart.com to find out how restorative grief can help you heal heart, mind, body, and spirit. Welcome back to Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart. You are listening to episode 238, titled Staying Present Without Drowning, Grief in an Age of Doomscrolling. How do you stay present to the world's suffering without being swallowed by it? Your body tightens as you scroll through news and social feeds, eyes darting for the next wave of bad headlines. That tension, that restlessness, is grief trying to move through the body, and it's something we all carry in this age of constant news. In this conversation, we are exploring how to stay with that grief without drowning, and how to hold space for both yourself and the world. I want to begin by naming something very specific that many of us have experienced recently. You sit down at your computer to work, you're trying to answer emails, write an important note, or focus on a task that matters to you. But your back hurts, and your neck aches from hunching forward, your shoulders are tight, and your jaw is clenched. Your phone sits next to your keyboard, and your hand reaches for it almost automatically. Before you know it, you unlock the screen and begin to scroll. The news, social media, you read headlines and see all the updates at once. And somewhere in your body, you realize you're waiting for the next piece of bad news. Another political escalation, another bombing, another decision by governments or militaries that will alter the lives of people across the world irrevocably. Another wave of grief moving through communities you may never visit, but still feel connected to as fellow human beings. You read a headline and you feel your chest tighten further. You read another and your stomach drops. And then you realize I'm distracted, and you put the phone down and try to go straight back to work as if your body did not just absorb an onslaught of horrible information. But my friend, your body knows. Your shoulders remain tense, your breathing might become shallow, and your attention keeps drifting back toward the screen as if there's resolution waiting. Suddenly, something very simple, like sitting at a desk and doing your work, begins to feel incredibly difficult. Much of what we experience while strolling the news is actually grief trying to move through the body. That grief shows up as a tension, a restlessness, and an almost automatic need to check the next headline. So if that experience sounds familiar, you are not alone. Right now, many of us are trying to live ordinary lives while absorbing extraordinary amounts of global distress. We are watching wars unfold in real time, witnessing humanitarian crises from thousands of miles away, understanding that we do not have any control over the ongoing genocides, and receiving alerts about violence and instability at a pace our nervous systems were never designed to handle. And there's also a quiet moral pressure that many of us feel. We believe we should stay fully informed. We believe we should care. We believe we should not look away. So the question becomes this: how do we stay present to suffering in the world without being swept under by it? I've been thinking about this question ever since a conversation I had a few months ago with Jeff on the Around the Circle podcast. During that conversation, we talked about grief not just as a personal experience, but also as something communal and cultural. Grief moves through families, communities, and nations. It appears in ways that we do not always expect and certainly cannot control. And one of the insights that stayed with me is that grieving responsibly requires learning how to remain present with pain without allowing it to consume us. This is a central theme in all my work on my website at mandykapehart.com. And certainly if you're familiar with restorative grief, you have asked this question before in one way or another. Because that question that guides much of that work is simple but important. How do we care deeply about the world while protecting our capacity to continue caring? To explore that question, I want to talk about our nervous systems and something I call responsible distance. We live in an environment that has very few natural stopping points for information. News alerts arrive at all hours of the day, social media feeds are refreshing endlessly, and commentary, images, and breaking updates compete for our attention. There is always another headline waiting, and there are certainly people on social media using the phrase breaking update simply as a marketing technique to get your attention, whether it's real or not. So when the world is relatively calm, this constant stream can already feel overwhelming. But when the world is experiencing widespread conflict and humanitarian crises that it is, the effect becomes far more intense. At the moment, we're watching the ever-escalating conflict in Iran, Israel, and the United States. There are ongoing military strikes and retaliatory attacks that have expanded across the region. And civilians are once again bearing the heaviest consequences of these geopolitical decisions. Many people around the world are witnessing this event through their phone and computers as they unfold, and that's not even accounting for the people witnessing it in real life. Awareness matters. I'm not going to ever say, close your eyes and put your head under the ground. Paying attention to suffering can motivate our compassion and cause us to take action. And at the same time, there is a cost to this constant exposure. We were not designed to withstand it. When you read distressing news, your brain does not interpret it as an abstract geopolitical event. Your nervous system often responds as if the danger were physically nearby. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tighten, and your breathing becomes shallow, just like when you are sitting at your desk. Your body prepares for a flight, fight, or freeze response, and this response is useful when a threat is immediate and local. It allows us to protect ourselves quickly. So the challenge appears when that threat is distant, yet constant. See, our nervous systems cannot easily distinguish between a danger that requires immediate action and a crisis that you're witnessing through a screen thousands of miles away. When any exposure happens repeatedly, the stress response has nowhere to go, so it accumulates in your body. And many people notice the results in subtle ways. They find themselves doomscrolling even when they want to stop. Their neck and shoulders ache after long periods of reading all those updates, and they feel irritable or emotionally numb. Concentration becomes difficult and sleep can become restless. These experiences are not signs that you are weak or overly sensitive. I'm going to say that again. These experiences, these somatic responses in your body are not signs that you are weak or overly sensitive. They are physiological responses to sustained exposure to distress. Every nervous system has what clinicians often call a window of tolerance or window of capacity. We've talked about this. This is the range in which a person can process info while remaining relatively regulated. So when distressing input becomes constant, it suppresses the nervous system outside of that window. Some people become hyperalert and anxious, while others feel shut down or become numb. And one of the quiet myths of modern life is the belief that caring about the world means absorbing everything that happens within it. Many people feel that if they truly care about a conflict or humanitarian crisis, they should be activists on all fronts. They should follow every update and consume all the data available. But the truth is, humans do not have unlimited capacity to witness suffering, and trying to absorb everything often leads to burnout. Burnout leads to emotional exhaustion and withdrawal, and eventually, a person may disengage completely because the weight becomes unbearable. This is why responsible distance matters. Responsible distance is not avoidance, it is not indifference, it is the boundary that allows compassion to remain sustainable. When you think back to the physical tension I described earlier, those tight shoulders and restless scrolling, your body is already communicating something important in that moment. It is signaling that the amount of distress you are absorbing may be exceeding what you can process at that moment. Responsible distance means listening to that signal. It means creating space so that your nervous system can regulate while your sense of compassion remains intact. Practically speaking, responsible distance can take several forms. One helpful approach is to create defined windows of time for news consumption. Instead of checking updates constantly, choosing specific times during the day to read reliable sources. And when those windows close, you allow yourself to return your attention to the responsibilities and the relationships directly in front of you. Another helpful practice involves noticing your body while you read the news. Before opening a news application or your social media feed, pause and take one deep inhale and a much longer exhale. Ask yourself whether you have the capacity currently to absorb difficult information. And then while reading, notice whether your shoulders tighten or your breathing becomes shallow. If your body signals overwhelm, give yourself permission to stop. Movement can also help us regulate that stress response that builds during exposure to distressing information. After reading difficult updates, it's good to stand up and stretch, to walk across the room, or to gently shake out your hands and your arms. These small movements can help your nervous system release accumulated tension. And finally, remember that witnessing suffering does not have to be a solitary activity. One of the most difficult aspects of modern news consumption is the way we absorb enormous amounts of grief while sitting alone at a screen. Sharing what you are processing with a trusted friend, a partner, or a community member can help your nervous system metabolize that information more effectively. And I want to say that doesn't mean venting on social media and then fighting with trolls in your comment section. This means sitting down with someone you can connect with. That's why I say a trusted friend. Human beings evolved to process distress within our relationships. So in the midst of global conflict and uncertainty, it is understandable that many people feel overwhelmed. The suffering we witness through our devices is real, and the compassion it evokes is also real, just as the damage it can cause within us is real. The challenge for us is to care in ways that allow us to remain present for the long term. Remember, the goal is not to shut down our awareness of the world. It is to remain both compassionate and learn how to regulate when necessary. Responsible distance allows us to do that. It reminds us that staying informed does not require constant immersion in distress. It also reminds us that our ability to care for the world is connected to how well we care for our own nervous systems. My hope is that the work you find here will support your ability to remain compassionate while also protecting your capacity to live your daily life with steadiness. So as you move through the coming week, try a simple experiment. The next time you notice your hand reaching automatically for your phone to check the news, pause for the moment and take that slow breath and long exhale. Notice how your body feels before you open the screen, and then decide intentionally whether you want to continue. Small moments of awareness like this can create meaningful shifts in how we carry the weight of the world. It is possible to remain informed, compassionate, and engaged. And it is also possible for you to care for your nervous system in the process. Staying with grief requires courage and intention, but does not require drowning in it. Thank you for listening to episode 238 of Restorative Grief. Learning to stay present with the world's suffering is not easy, and not the highest calling in your grief work either. You deserve to feel grounded in your own life every single day, no matter the state or context of the world around you. Your grief also matters. Your nervous system deserves care. Learning to hold both with compassion is how we keep showing up for ourselves and for others without sacrificing our own health to do so. If this was your first time joining me for the show, I'm so glad you're here. I would love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or consider becoming a patron of the podcast. Supporting this show keeps the work going and unlocks bonus episodes and reflective workbooks to deepen your own grief practice. And as always, before we go, please remember, the only solution for grief is to do the work of grieving. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.